Why on earth would you want to put NFTs into games? Well, in the rapidly evolving world of crypto gaming, a lot of people are trying to answer that question. And one person with some really interesting answers is John Linden, CEO of Mythical Games. Mythical's recently released game, Blankos Block Party, uses NFTs to let players own and sell the collectible figurines that populate the game. I recently got a chance to sit down with John and hear about the origin story of Blankos Block Party, how it came to be, and how things played out as they iterated and tested their ideas. Listen into our conversation and you'll hear 7 key insights from John about how to make NFT games work.
Yeah, so the story there was a couple things. One is we said, okay, we are seeing some blockchain stuff happen. As a free-to-play game maker, I'll spend $30 or $40 in a game, sometimes just to support the studio, sometimes to see how it works, sometimes because I just have, there's a little loop that I like in there. But I was never a whale. I didn't have that personality. And next thing I saw is these crypto kitties, 2D images of cats. And next thing I know, I dropped $600 on these cats. And I'm like, what just happened here? That's not my normal behavior. And I think what was interesting there is we were like, there's something really fundamentally interesting if you give an item that feels tangible. I can destroy my cats. I could trade them. I could sell them. I could breed them for something new. But I had that power as a consumer. So we loved a lot of these things happening in blockchain, but the games weren't great. They weren't game makers that were building these products. So we wanted to come out and say, okay, if we're going to do this, let's put out something that feels like a game first. We wanted something that people could just play. And could we bring these concepts of blockchain into a world that is still a game first and foremost? So we wanted to do a demo. And the idea behind the demo was we went through a bunch of ideas. Jamie Jackson, who's my co-founder, he's a huge vinyl toy geek, and I am too. And he's like, let's go after vinyl toys, because if you think about it, what vinyl toy community does in real life is what we want to do in a digital world, to where you have this canvas, right? You have a 3D canvas, and a lot of times it's blank. And that's where Blankos came from. It is a blank canvas that artists or brands or any person could come in and hopefully build their own and then resell that to somebody else. So that was the genesis of this idea. And we just started running with it, and people loved the art. We sucked them into this amazing world. And that was what we wanted to do. So it really it started off as a proof of concept. And we were like, you know what? There's actually more gameplay here we can add on to it. Something very brand safe. And I come from the Call of Duty world, which is not super brand safe. We didn't want killing, but we wanted to have some mechanics around esports, right? Okay, we want people to build shooters or build race games or build, eventually, hopefully, sports games and other things like that. And so we thought through a lot of Roblox, kind of what they're doing. We wanted to age it up a little bit. We didn't think that was the right demographic for what we were trying to do. So we wanted to age it up to more of a collector audience. And then we wanted safe space. We also wanted a really fun, but fairly high fidelity. I wouldn't say we're the highest fidelity game, but we wanted something that it felt good. It's something you could even have on a console or something like that. So that was some of the ideas. We took definitely some cues from like Little Big Planet. Fall Guys came out actually after we were in the mix there, but there was definitely a little bit of inspiration of what Fall Guys was doing at Mediasonic and those guys. But we wanted to keep it kind of true to hopefully a game. And we wanted these characters also to be able to sit on a shelf with Funko Pops or with Kid Robot and still stand out. And I think we did a pretty good job of keeping that very distinct silhouette that is uniquely Blankos. But we definitely drew a lot of inspiration from a lot of different pieces. We had a very early, powerful community. The identity for the community was their username. We felt like there was a very strong tie to who the player was, and it was really about them showing off their collection. So we didn't want to base it on, hey, I have one character I'm going to go through the whole game with. We wanted to really think about a collection. And I think what we've seen a lot of it is we really kept people with their identities, right? Their Twitch names and their gamer tags and all that. And so it's actually worked fairly well for us. We had a friend system very early. People could find each other, but we really wanted it to be about the username first. And it's almost like dressing up for the day, right? What do I feel like today? What do I want to play as today? I think that was really the idea. There's not two that are alike necessarily. And I think that's beautiful about these collections is that I can express a lot of different things, right? I might have a particular artist I like, my particular brand I like. Maybe it's just the cool design I like, but we wanted to give people a lot of opportunity to collect and express who they are at the time. It's constantly evolving, and it's kind of nice because the world continuously shifts. The key about a game like this is that when we said proof of concept, we wanted to see those levers. We wanted to see the data. We wanted to see the KPIs that come out of a game like this. And honestly, we've learned a lot. We've had to come up with some new KPIs because some of the things that we saw before are no longer there, right? They're different now. So I think things like that, we just had to deal with. And so it's still made it for a little bit longer. Retention, right? Mobile games, you live and die by retention. And generally what we saw, like in Marvel Strike Force, is if you're out, right? If you're no longer in D30, that is a very true telling KPI of that game. If you're out, you're never coming back. And that's what we've seen in mobile. We're not seeing that in these worlds. And what we're seeing now is that people play the game and then people are still part of the community. So they'll come back day 45 and they'll suddenly pick it up again and play for a little while. And then they'll leave for a while and come back. So we had to actually do two sets of retention metrics, because one is, what are you actually playing the day-to-day game? And that tells us obviously a lot of things. We also have kind of this community retention. So we started seeing some stuff like that. So we had to watch kind of two sets of retention data to see, okay, cool, here's the actual game effects, but a lot of people just want to be in the community. Here's the most amazing stat that I've seen. We see 17% of all revenue for Blankos. They've never played the game once. And so what does that mean? There's a speculation audience. We've seen that. Anytime you have a value and you think you can buy something for $10 and it'll be worth $25 down the road, people will come and collect. But people love the IP. How many games can you fully monetize your IP outside of people playing the game? It doesn't happen super often. And I think that's going to be a tremendous opportunity for game developers. If you build a very intriguing IP that people connect with, you're going to be able to make money just for the love of the IP. Longevity is driven by game design, right? And all these things that we put into games. We think very long and hard of what are those loops and how do we keep people coming back and what is engaging and how do we measure that and make sure we're doing it right? Because we don't always get it right. I mean, none of us get it right all the time. We get some of it right and you have to adjust. Some of them will stick. Some of them will be shiny object. Some of them are honestly an incentive for making money. So I view the world in terms of this whole play to earn. We're not calling it play and earn, because I'm like, I think there's two models here. There's the earn first models, which is like an Axie Infinity, which is what Uber did too, right? It's what delivery did. It's what customer service jobs did. It's a new form of work, which is cool. But to me, there's also a play first. And that's where we're really focused on is, can you bring these concepts into real games? I love that the further we get into this, we can take a lot of classic gaming tropes that we've seen in the past in gaming mechanics, and there's a new spin to that, right? Instead of designing for an inflationary economy like a free-to-play game, we're designing around scarcity. It's a new paintbrush we have to play with. And I think there's a lot of other amazing benefits, right? You can build a community early. You can pre-sell items so you can get games off the ground. You have new revenue streams. You have new demographics. We can see a bigger world. But I still think that we like the play first model. That's what we're calling it, play and earn now. We're still kind of in year 1, year 2 of mobile. And if you think about the games in year 1, year 2 of mobile, it wasn't Sims, right? It wasn't Supercell. It was Jelly Card. It was Doodle Jump. And they were fun, but they were pretty primitive to what we now see in mobile 10 or 15 years later. And I think that's the phase we're in right now. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. There's a lot of cool new experiments. I like to say a lot of these are academic still, because Axie is amazing, but it still feels like an academic experiment. There's $2 billion locked into that game economy. I guarantee you that's not from gamers. That's from investors. It's from people that are viewing this as a earning mechanism. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just not what we're doing. These were $10 characters. We sold them for 30 days. They were not quantity limited. And we sold 12,000 characters, $10 a piece. So we started off with that. And we wanted to say, okay, what if we had 2 evolutions like a Pokemon and they are fixed quantity, right? So now it's like, cool, there's 12 of these. And we say, we're going to have a fixed quantity of 2,000 and then a fixed quantity of 200. So now as a player, I have the opportunity to turn one of my 12,000 potentially into one of 200. But there's a couple twists to that. One, they're individually numbered. So the very first person that gets it is going to get number 1. And the second person is going to get number 2. What does that do on gameplay? What's the effect of that? And then the second one is we wanted to use some of these scarcity models to say, okay, as you move from a 1 of 12,000 into 1 of 2,000, we decided that you had to have 2 of them. And again, it was a little bit of a social experiment to see like what happens. 400 people that had 2 of them in their inventory, something like that. So it was like 20% of that next tier already had 2 of them in their inventory. So if we announce it, you have to go find another one. And the only way you can get one is to buy it from another player, because we're not minting any more of these. We're not manufacturing any more of these as Mythical. So one, what happens? Well, you know what happened is the prices before, they were $10. And in the marketplace, they were selling for about 15. So about 50% markup. And this is before we announced it. The second we announced it, they started going for $30, $40, $50. So we suddenly saw this big markup of watching what would happen. When you upgrade, if you're going to get one of the 2,000, you have to burn both of them. So both of them are destroyed forever, which basically means now there's no longer 12,000 of the originals. There's now only, I think there's like 6,500 of the originals left after this experiment. What happens if we put this scarcity and value? And again, it's all back to the players. So what ended up happening is before it was a $10 item originally. was a $15 item in the open economy. Now it's a $50, $60 item. The one of 2,000, I think they go for $400 or $500. And then the one of 200, I think they go for like $1,600 because there's only 200 of them in the entire world. It's really interesting to watch these mechanics happen, and players love it. There's game aspects, there's creating value. And again, we don't control any of the prices. We just see what the players value these at on their own. It's completely open. So it's fun. It's really interesting to watch these new mechanics play out. We have a big vision. There's a lot of stuff we haven't shared yet of where we really go. We're ultimately heading to a 3D internet down the road. You want to talk about what the metaverse means? It's not Fortnite. It's not Roblox. It's a 3D internet. I think we are heading there in some fashion, right? It won't necessarily replace everything, but there'll be a big aspect of that. And frankly, I think the best industry in the world to control a 3D internet and to build a 3D internet is the game industry. We have an amazing industry. People love our worlds. They love playing games and having fun. Let's not take that away. Let's enhance that experience. Let's not just take it away and make it a job. We'll see what happens. But I think these are the game genres and developers that are understanding this and jumping into it. I think it's going to be really fun watching what happens.
I hope you enjoyed our behind-the-scenes tour of Blankos Block Party. You can go to blankos.com right now to check out the game. The link is in the description. And if you want more insight into the world of NFT gaming, check out this video right here. We publish new videos each week, deconstructing innovative games and products. So make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss a thing. Let's get smarter together. See you next week.